I think we're at the stage now where we've got to time the engine, just check the engine's timing. I think the engine might be a little bit retarded, a bit like me, and I'm sort of hoping it is a little bit out of time, because that would explain a bit of its idle. And so I'm going to go through the process of timing the engine. Here we are over the engine, and I don't know if you can see it down in there. I'll put the light on right down there in between things. There's a pointer. I'll see if I can zoom in down there to it. There it is. See the reflection? That's a pointer there, and that's top dead center, and in this car is set to top dead center. Now, I don't know if you can see in there, but on the crank wheel there is a white line, and normally in the past I've had to do these markings myself. You have to find the groove in the crank pulley and mark it with a bit of white paint, but somebody's done a good job and already done it, and the top dead center one is chrome, so you can't miss it. And what I do is get the timing line, and I'm going to put one side the clip on number one cylinder, first cylinder on the left bank, and hook it to the battery, and then I'll run the engine and check the timing. Right, I've hooked the timing light up. The main concern here is to make sure that the leads going to the battery and to number one cylinder aren't in contact with any moving parts. I don't know if you can see that down in there, but it's about 10 degrees out. Well, I was right, the engine is out of time. Now, on the distributor, right down the bottom at the base there, if I go in a bit, you can see that nut. What you do is you loosen off that nut, just keeping it tight, just enough so you can turn the distributor, and you put your timing light back on with the engine running and turn that distributor until the timing marks line up down in there. Well, the engine was 10 degrees out. It's now set at top dead center, and I'll just leave the timing light on and give it one more try to make sure it's top dead center without me moving it, having tightened up the distributor, but I know it'll be fine. The other day I took this car up the road and had some new tyres fitted, and some work done on the exhaust pipe because it had a hole in it, which cost money. And then I took it down to the mechanic that does the blue slip. You have to be very polite with these people. They think they're demigods. Anyway, he gave me a short list of things he wanted to repair on the cars, and one of them is, which is probably a real one, when you put the foot on the brake, it pulls to the left, which means that this right hand front wheel probably has a faulty caliper, and I'm going to take it off and have a look at it to see what's wrong with the caliper. So let's go. Well, I've unbolted the brake caliper, took the pads off and pulled out the sensors, and then I just ran the engine and put my foot on the brake. As you can see, this piston on the right has come out. You can see a bit of shiny there from the piston, and the piston on the left is still in there. If not, I'll have to buy a new one or get a repair kit. As you can see here, what I need is some new piston rubbers. They were no good, and there you go. One of the things that they wrote on the list that's wrong with the car is they can't read the engine number. The engine number is located at the back here on the right hand side of the engine rear, and it's behind the rocker cover. Right, I've got the long awaited piston repair kit, Make sure your calipers are all cleaned out and your pistons are clean. I'll put a rubber on the piston, and there's a metal plate that just goes over the top. The rubber goes on the little shaft at the end of the piston. This rubber here comes from just inside the piston there. It's a sealing ring, and so we replace those with the new sealing rings. Then I'll put the pistons back in and we'll try them on the car. Well, I'll put the pistons back in, and they're quite tight putting in, so I hope they're not seizing up or anything like that and work properly. While I've got it on the bench, I'm going to put the pads, the locking pins and the holding down spring back in, and then I'll put it back on the car. Here's a little story for Complaints Corner. I ordered 2 of these bushes for the control arm, which we call the lower wishbone over here, and I finally got this one. Actually I got 2 of them, and this is what Auto Parts USA sent me instead. This is a drive axle for a General Motors GMC Acadia vehicle, which we don't even have in Australia, and they sent me 2 of them, and they, as you can see, a lot of machining and work in it, but they took 2 weeks to get here, and cost me $245, which is ridiculous. These shafts are worth over $200 US each, and somehow I got an arrange to get them back to the company that mistakenly sent them to me, and also try and get my money back. On the other hand, this part, 2 of these with a caliper repair kit, delivered from the US in 2 days, cost me $35. So I was being ripped off in the first place. More complaints later. Well, I've just changed the lower control arm bushes, or lower wishbone bushes, and my advice is get somebody else to do it if you can afford it. In my case, I can't afford it. Unfortunately, what I didn't realise is you have to take out the whole control arm, and it's no easy feat, because you've got to be able to press out the rubbers, the bushes, out of the control arm. And in the process, I had to change the well, you can't see it really, lower ball joint down here, because you've got to smash it to pieces to get it out, and then you've got to smash the rubbers to pieces to get them out. And as you can see, I'm dealing with an idiot, because there's nothing wrong with the rubbers at all. This guy's a little Hitler, thinks he knows everything, and so this whole exercise cost me time, money and effort for nothing, just for his bloody ego. So there you are. And the other thing I learned is, when you put the I hung the control arm back up here off the bushes first, and then tried to put the spring in. It doesn't work. You can't do it that way. So I had to compress the spring with spring compressors, get it in there, bolt the bottom ball joint on, and then use jacks, 3 of them actually, to get it into position and jack it up and get it right to put the bolts through. And that's my story about control arm bushes. Well, I was going to take the car back to the man to get this blue slip finalised, and I realised there was a leak at the bottom of the brake fluid reservoir. I don't know if you can see it down there, it's a bit of a leak. I've ordered a couple of rubbers to come in to replace them. Hopefully it's not the container, but we'll find out shortly. but I had to put the car up on stands to bleed the brakes. I find it easier just to walk around and bleed them that way than do it individually. And the brakes at the rear are half worn, so while we've got it up, I'll change the brake pads on the rear. Doing the brake pads on the 450 is pretty much the same as doing the brake pads on the 300E here. The only difference, there isn't any. What I do, I've already a couple of pins here. I've tapped them in slightly, and all I do is use a hardened nail and knock those pins out. And then I undo the 2 bolts at the back and take the caliper off, put the new pads on. The only reason you have to undo these back bolts at all is to spring out the brake pads. Once you got them out, you can let off a bit of fluid and lever the pistons apart and put in your new pads. I've already put one in, and I've just got the pins there just to hold it temporary, and I'll put the other pads in, and that's this one done. Now I'm going to check out the damage with our brake fluid reservoir, and got my little bowl to catch the fluid that comes out of it. When I pull it off, I've taken off the plug here, and let's live in hope that it's not cracked or damaged. Well, it looks like I win one for a change. The container doesn't appear to have any cracks or anything in it, and the rubbers on the master cylinder here seem rather soft and mushy and everything, so luckily I reckon it's just the rubbers. So sooner we get them, sooner we can get the show on the road.